This is Dr. Kafo Chidumeje, CEO at Dr. King Foundation Nigeria, convener, Tritaton, the Lupus Day, the Lupus Day,
at a particular area, and from that place spreads all around the cerebral cortex. It will be called generalized seizure. So now, as I have explained this thing for you, let me now come down to this my patient. Remember what I told you about the apprentice that their master has brought, and they were exhibiting, and the master said they were exhibiting certain signs. They'll be quiet, they will be forgetting, they will be sometimes they will stand at a spot. Let me now tell you why I suspect those teenagers were suffering from seizure. Just that their masters didn't understand, and they mistook it for stubbornness, and we are beating these people. Okay, so first I will start with focal. These children might be suffering from focal seizure, and focal seizure has two types of seizure. It has focal impaired seizure, impaired awareness seizure, and focal awareness seizure. Focal awareness seizure is the one we call simple partial seizure, while focal awareness impaired seizure is the one we call complex partial seizure. Now, for the simple partial seizure, the presentation is normally the focal seizures always have an aura. Aura means something. They will be exhibiting something. The patient will be feeling something as if there's something about happening, with some little other signs. So, for simple partial seizure, an example of simple partial seizure are Jacksonian seizure and epileptic partialis continua. So now, in this simple partial seizure, the patient is aware, is fully aware. There's no loss of consciousness. He's aware it is happening. He can just start twitching. Maybe one finger will be doing like this, or the leg will be doing like this. The patient will know it's happening, just that he wouldn't be able to control it. So it will be. He just discovered that he cannot control a finger. The finger doing like this, or the one hand doing like this. It just happens at a particular part of the body, and it will be doing like that. Now, for Jacksonian seizure, it can be doing like this. It can start with like this, and from like this it will start like this. From like this it will start like this. From like this it will start like this. But the truth there is that it never generalizes. Like immediately it lives here, it doesn't. This place doesn't. This place stops. This one continues. So that one is the Jacksonian seizure. Then epilepsy non-partialis continua means that the epileptic partialis continua means that the twitching is now happening repeatedly. Like it can happen now, after 2 seconds it can happen again, even though it's just small, it just keep happening like that. That is about simple partial seizure. And just like I told you, there's awareness. The patient is fully aware. The aura is normally epigastric. The patient is feeling like nausea, feeling like vomiting, feeling like abdominal pain. Then it happens. Then the next part of seizure that might be happening to these people is a complex partial seizure. That is the focal awareness impaired seizure. In focal awareness impaired seizure, there is aura. It lasts greater than 30 seconds. There is associated post-ictal phase. That is after the seizure, something else happens. There could be post-ictal amnesia. The patient might not remember that those things happened. Or there could be post-ictal thought paralysis. Or there could be headache. There could be weakness. So now, in complex partial seizure, the aura is normally epigastric, especially if the seizure is affecting the around the temporal lobe, like the parieto-temporal lobe. There will be signs of epigastric like increased salivation, increased nausea, desire to vomit. Then if it happens, if the seizure is about starting at the visual area, there could be impaired there could be impaired vision. Then, what are the signs the patient may present? The signs might include lip smacking, swallowing, and chewing. then the patient might be fumbling. Now, this patient does not know he's doing these things. That's the difference between that one and simple partial. But the patient is conscious. Now, the patient cannot respond. If you are speaking to that patient at that moment, the patient will understand, but cannot respond. But can still carry out instructions. Like if you tell that patient, get this thing for me, the patient can get it. More like behaving like somebody in trance. The person can get it, but he's still not aware. But we'll still follow that instruction. In fact, some of them can even drive. They can drive at that, and it's risky, but they can drive at that point without still knowing that this is what they are passing through. Now, after that seizure, when that seizure stops, the patient might not, if you tell the patient, do you know you are doing this? The patient will not know he's doing that. That is why the awareness is impaired in that particular case. Okay, so let me now go to another one. I'm going down to generalized. Now, in generalized, the particular seizure I picked in generalized consists of so many other seizures like tonic-clonic seizure, grand mal, and others. But I'm going to pick only absence seizure. In fact, there's typical absence seizure and atypical absence seizure. I'm picking typical absence seizure. Typical absence seizure now would also be one of the seizures that might be happening to these teens. Now, in typical absence seizure, if I'm explaining typical absence seizure, you might be like, is it not this same? Is it not complex partial seizure you're repeating again? But that is not it. In typical absence seizure, it's not generalized. There is no loss of consciousness. There is no jerking. Remember, absence seizure is part of generalized absence seizure, but there's no jerking. There's no loss of consciousness. Patients, it happens just it just takes a particular part of the body too. There is in this particular one, there is no post-ictal phase. It just happens less than 30 seconds and stops. The patient doesn't even know it happened. It can start. There's no aura at all. So it is abrupt. It just happens, very sudden. So the symptoms include something like fluttering of the eyelids, twitching of the facial muscles, and staring into the sky, just staring into the empty space for about 30 seconds. It will stop. So if you notice it and tell the patient, do you know you just did this? The patient wouldn't know. There's no post-ictal phase at all. The patient wouldn't know that kind of thing even ever happened. And there's no aura, just like I've told you. So this is, imagine this happening to your apprentice. You would think the person is being stubborn. Now, the other seizures that might be happening to these kids, these teens, might be what we call juvenile.
Toka for Chidimeje, CEO at Dr. King Foundation Nigeria, convener, Tritaton, the Lupus Day, the Lupus Day, the Lupus Day, Tritaton.